All right, so let's get right into it. If you've ever thought about becoming a screenwriter, I guarantee there's one question that's crossed your mind, maybe more than once. It's about time, it's about sacrifice, and what it really takes to make it. Today, we're going to unpack a pretty fascinating and honestly, brutally honest take on that exact question. And there it is, the big one. The author of our source material says that for nearly 20 years, this was the question they heard constantly. And the funny thing is, for most of that time, they didn't really have a straight answer. I mean, think about it. How do you put a number on a journey that's so different for every single person? It's not like there's a magic formula. So whenever they got asked, their default response was just an awkward laugh. They just didn't have a clue what the average time frame for success could possibly be. But, after watching so many writers try and fail and succeed over the years, a pattern started to show itself. And even though no number is ever going to be perfect, the author finally landed on an answer, a really simple number that kind of sums up a very, very complicated journey. 10 years. Yep, that's the number. The idea here is that while everyone's path is totally unique, a decade is a pretty realistic benchmark to have in your head. It's not a promise, of course, but it's a solid frame of reference for the long haul of becoming a pro screenwriter. And this really gets to the heart of it. It's not about just waiting around for 10 years to pass. It's about making a conscious decision, a plan that spans a decade. The whole journey really kicks off the moment you decide to dedicate a huge chunk of your life to the craft. Okay, so we've got our number, 10 years. But this is where things get really, really interesting. The author makes a bold claim that the number itself, the decade, is actually less important than something else, something far more demanding. So let's dig into what that actually is. So here's the crucial difference. It's not about just letting the sand run through the hourglass for 10 years. It's about what you are doing in that time. The real secret sauce, the thing that actually matters, is a period of absolute 100% uninterrupted focus on writing. Nothing else. And there you have it. Plain and simple. This isn't a write on the weekends or in your spare time kind of plan. The whole 10-year framework is built on one condition, that this time is dedicated only to writing. It's an all-or-nothing deal, which, as you can imagine, leads to a pretty stark reality. So you might be asking, how on earth is anyone supposed to achieve that kind of intense focus? Well, this is where the author gets incredibly real, calling the hidden requirement for this creative deep dive a selfish and cold condition. Yeah, let's just let that one sink in for a second. The ability to focus only on writing for 10 years straight means you have to have the money to live for 10 years without another job. You need to pay rent, buy food, and live your life while doing nothing but getting better at your craft. The author actually has a name for this. They call it the minimum environment. Basically, it's the foundation of financial security that frees a writer from all the other life distractions so they can just write. And in this view, it's not a nice to have, it's an absolute necessity. The author keeps coming back to this phrase, and for good reason. It just hammers home the tough truth of it all. It feels selfish because you have to put your art before almost everything else, and it feels cold because it basically puts a price tag on a creative dream. It's a really challenging idea to sit with. All of this brings us to a really interesting paradox. We have this image of the struggling artist who finally makes it big and then gets financial security. But what the author saw was often the complete opposite, a reversal of that logic that is pretty eye-opening. So let's just walk through the logic here. If making your debut requires that absolute focus we talked about, and that absolute focus requires the financial stability of the minimum environment, well, then it leads to a wild conclusion. A lot of writers who make it big already had that stability before they sold their first script. The money enabled the success, not the other way around. So what's the big takeaway from all this? It seems like the 10-year plan isn't really about just being patient and waiting for your turn. It's about understanding the incredible amount of resources, time, focus, and, yes, money, that this path demands, which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Is this whole thing a test of patience, or is it really a call to start the serious, practical work of preparation?